So how would you like to do this? I presume that you each have individual questions, so maybe I can go by the list that I see and call on you to see what questions and comments you have, and then maybe that'll already answer some of the questions that others have. Does that sound like an okay way to proceed, or would you like to do it differently?
That sounds good with me.
Okay, so the first person here I see who just joined actually is Anthony. Hi, Anthony.
Hi, how's it going? I was mostly looking to listen in and
Okay.
maybe come up with questions as we go along.
Tell us where you're working and how it's gone so far. Maybe we can each do a bit of a check-in too as I call on you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I work for HubSpot. It's a kind of marketing technology company up in Boston with
Mm-hmm.
global offices. Stuff's been going pretty good. They have like a wiki system, like an internal wiki system, and is able to put the pre-survey there, kind of
Good.
push it out to like other interns as well to like send to their teams and kind of just get a good amount of visibility. So
That's good.
hopefully get a lot of responses. But yeah,
So when did you push it out?
I pushed it out kind of like last week and have been, every other day putting in a little bit more like effort and like pushing it to new people, new like Slack channels, whatever it is. So.
Right. How many responses do you have so far?
I'm not sure off the top of my head. I would have to go and check.
Okay, okay. So yesterday, Lalit and Kirsty shared with me the um, kind of response histogram, and I don't know if I have it here. It definitely varies a lot. So I was also hoping through this call that those of you who have had success in, receiving responses could share how you did it, and then those of you who are having challenges with it could perhaps share where the challenges are coming from, and we might be able to troubleshoot a little bit. So, but it sounds like you have a good system in your company and that it's working for you.
Yeah, I think there's like good architecture in place for getting information out. So
Okay, good. All right, so Ari, you're up next.
Hi, how are you? No.
Hi there.
Um, I've been
When you
actually at,
speak, if you have the option of unmuting your video, that would be great.
oh, sure.
So that I can.
Hi.
Hi, hi.
I'm right by a window, so you can't really see my
Yeah,
face,
I
but
can't really
that's
see
okay.
you, but we have an impression. So where are you?
I'm in Guatemala. I was supposed to intern at Mercer this summer, but that got canceled last minute. And right now I'm interning here in Guatemala at a company called Quinfica, which um, produces and distributes vitamins and supplements and different types of natural medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's been really interesting, the work I've been doing. However, a big challenge that I ran into that I told you about, and you actually shared really, really, really cool information with me, was that a lot of the people working at the company where I am, especially like in production and distribution, don't have an understanding about what climate change is, what carbon emissions are. So what I was working mostly during the beginning of this project was developing like short educational videos on what emissions are, how we play a role, and then how they're going to affect Guatemala specifically.
So how did that go? I appreciated that you reached out and that you, were starting your project with this engagement education piece.
I
In
think it was,
in
sorry?
uh, in like, and you also had to translate a bunch of material, right?
Yes, I translated the survey. Um, but that wasn't too, I struggled more with the video because I wanted to make it really simple. A lot of the people in Guatemala education is not great, so a lot of the people working in less skilled labor within our company have at most primary school education.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to like really break it down, and I feel like that was a challenge for me. But I had a professor once who told me like if you can't explain it to a 9-year-old, then you can't really explain it at all.
Okay.
So I channeled my inner her. I think you know her, Professor Saikawa at Emory.
Uh-huh.
Or yeah.
I've heard of her. Yeah, I haven't met her.
I think she knows Professor Cobb.
Probably, yeah.
So that's what I've been working on, and then a challenge was distributing it. So I was actually just able to get the survey out on Tuesday, because we've had national holidays and just shutdowns in general, because the way Corona is progressing here is very different and very like challenging in a very different way. So until Tuesday, I was able to contact it's a small company, it's only 100 employees. So I contacted the, what do you call this in English? Like kind of the director of each different department. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
And asked them to distribute it to their employees. And I think for now I've gotten around 60 responses in a day, which I don't think is bad at all.
How many?
60.
Oh my God, that's 60% response rate? Yeah, that's amazing. Very good.
But I've been in communication with them because I'm working in the administrative office, so I have really easy contact with all the directors of the departments. I hope to get more responses, but then I guess my question was, I'm still not sure. I watched the video, but I'm not sure how the transition is going to be in building the second, more in-depth survey.
Right. So, I mean, this is probably of relevance to everyone. But what we're hoping to do is that your first deliverable is the kind of the assessment of what you learned so far from the survey. But also, you and maybe some other interns have done creative things to educate and to engage. So we would love to hear also what you found out and what that means for the rest of the project in that report. So you all have that template. I'm not sure I have it at my fingertips right now, but it has, I think, mainly 3 sections, kind of background about that company and, what you found out, what you've observed so far. Secondly is, what are the preliminary results of your survey? And we have these 3 categories in the survey, right? One of it has to do with transportation and work from home kind of behaviors. So are there some individual behaviors that changed? And then we'll want you to try to deepen and understand the quantity level there. So if it turns out that there have been appreciable changes in terms of the commuting or working from home patterns, then the next survey will ask questions like, how many miles a day do you commute? What is your primary mode of transportation? When you switched modes, what is the current mode, right? So that's going to allow you to figure out how many employees have changed these habits by how much. And then you're going to, multiply those miles with the right multipliers to calculate the carbon emissions. So that was that part. The second part has to do with, is there anything in your operations that has changed? And one example that I've given is, restaurants, for example, have gone from sitting in menus to takeout menus. And maybe with takeout, they have, changed their menu, and maybe they went more vegetarian for whatever reason, or they went more local because of supply chain issues. So then you try to get more information about how much the operations changed, in what way did they change, and then what are the emissions impacts. And then the third part of the survey had to do with, wellness issues, productivity, wellness. And we probably won't have too much of in-depth work following that, but we may, depending on what the data finds. So our intent with your first report is that you report on your observations generally and your findings from the survey, and that gives you ideas about where you would like to focus your energy for the rest of the carbon reduction challenge. So it could be an operational change, it could be a commuting change, whatever it is. And you might have 2 or 3 ideas and would like to discuss them with us. So we ask in this first deliverable that you document 1 to 3 ideas of where you'd like to go. And then once we see that from everyone, then we're going to guide you in next steps, which will include the more in-depth survey. We're also planning to create, after we've seen everything and we discern the landscape better, a straw survey that's a bit more in-depth that then you can customize to your specific situation. So we'll be providing quite a bit of scaffolding. So right now your energy should be on trying to get the survey out, do any other engagement that you're doing, document your observations and ideas and document your observations and findings from the survey, and then document your ideas for the next phase of your project. And then we'll be guiding you and providing some scaffolding for the next. Does that help?
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah, Lalith, I see you're on and you've thought about the survey as well. Would you like to add anything to that?
No, nothing to add. I think the main thing was that we'll be providing that sort of skeleton for on top of which we can discuss more questions to add to flesh out your organization-specific changes, but nothing more to add.
Okay, and by the way, Kirsty dropped in the chat here that Anthony has 70 responses. And as of yesterday, the largest response number was about 100. And there were about 5 had 1 response only. So, we have the full range, so to speak. And, I have confidence that those ones will also creep up. But again, we can try to help, or you can learn from each other, if not. So, Ari, congratulations on a great start. And I think if you want to share links to the videos that you did, either in the chat group for your, cohort or with us, that would be nice to see. We appreciate that you went the extra mile.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
All right,
you.
I see that I'm going down the list. I see Anna Marie joined, but I'll come to you later. Marilyn, would you like to turn on your video if you can?
Sure.
Hi.
Hi, my name is Marilyn, and I'm interning at Park Pride this summer. So it's basically a nonprofit organization that works with parks and the city of Atlanta to have Brookhaven and Tucker, just to help out. Yeah, I didn't really
What's your
have that many.
experience been so far?
I think it's been mostly positive. Obviously everything's virtual, so it's kind of hard to, I guess, like understand too much of what exactly is happening because I'm kind of just doing like my own part.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. By the way, I was reflecting on Ari's question and her particular context where there hasn't been a lot of prior knowledge, and there may not even have been much adaptation to COVID, either in operations or in work behaviors. And if that is the case, it's also possible to just choose a carbon reduction project that you think will be impactful for the company, that goes outside the mold of what we have outlined as COVID focused this year. So, we have in the Carbon Reduction Challenge webpage, we have examples of past projects. And depending on whether it's a manufacturing environment, which it sounded like at least that setting was, and some of you all might be in manufacturing environments, then you might look to lighting efficiency or HVAC efficiency in facilities or such other projects. So although our starting point is COVID-related changes, if you end up not documenting such changes in the company, but you see something else, then that's also totally fine. I just want to put that out there.
Oh, right. That was like the one question I had because, yeah, I remember like some of the past examples were like, are they like fixing the windows or making those more efficient? It's like if I haven't ever like gone to visit it, I can't really notice any
Yeah.
of those things.
Well, in your case, it looks like your organization went from working probably in the offices to working virtually.
Hmm.
So most likely from that first part of your survey, you're going to get some changes that you can build your project on.
Hmm.
And what does this organization do? You said it's parks?
Right.
What
So we
kind
work
of,
with like Friends of Park groups and like provide just like different kinds of aid, like whether it be like financial or like workshops or things like that.
okay. So it could be, for example, I spoke to an organization that's maybe in the general space, South Face. So one of the things that South Face does is home energy audits. And normally they used to send a person in to do the audit. Now they have found a way to do those audits virtually. And so that definitely saves gas on that employee going out there and doing the audit. So it could be that if, I don't know, workshops represents part of the reason why the operations of your nonprofit has emissions because people drive to the workshops, but now those workshops are happening virtually, then you could calculate the impact of that. So you can basically look at how the services that they've provided have changed to adapt, right? That's kind of the second part of the survey. And you can also try to discern this if you don't get information in the survey by talking and interviewing a couple of people, like the director of operations or, you know, whatever the title might be. And then you could base a project on that. So there's, you know, a number of, if the survey doesn't succeed, yeah, like to your best expectations, then interviewing 2 to 3 key people can be valuable as well. And you might choose to do that even as a supplement to the survey. As results come in, to try to make sense or interpret the survey, it'll be helpful to talk to a couple of old timers who can help you put it in context and where you can ask some follow-up questions on how, you know, operations and other services have changed and whether that has emissions implications. Does that help?
Yeah, that was helpful.
Okay, great. So good luck with that. Next, I have Minrui. And by the way, Lalit or Chersti, did you have anything to add to that, to what I said?
Nothing to add, but it looks like Alina is raising her hand. So before moving on,
Okay.
I just was volunteering to introduce myself really quickly because I had a question.
Sure.
But we can just go down the list if that works too, because I realized that we're kind of like running short on time. But anyway, I'm not going to turn on my video because my face is really swollen. I just got out of oral surgery like 2 days ago, so
Okay, that's fine.
yeah, my name is Alina. I'm working with Microsoft this summer. I sent out my I talked to the corporate vice president of my team, and he sent out the survey, and I was able to get around 200 responses. So I was very excited to see that. But
good.
my question was, so in regards to analyzing the data, so the results are still coming, or like people are still taking the survey. And I was going to reach out a few more to some more other people and ask them to get some more responses in. But my question was, since they required me to use Microsoft Forms because they said they wanted to use like in-house tools, I was wondering if the Qualtrics form had any kind of like data analysis tools that I should be focused. Okay, so it's just like in general.
No, you just download the data onto spreadsheets.
Okay.
In Qualtrics, which I think is the same in Microsoft Tools.
Okay. I was just wondering if there was any specific things I'm missing out on that I should be aware of. All right, thank you so much.
You're not. Yeah. And 200 responses is very good. It feels to me like you can start looking at the data and analyzing and think about it. And then as more responses come in, if anything changes, you can always pivot. But it's a really good starting point. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually doing a presentation with the Chief Environmental Officer next Tuesday. So I'm trying to get the big survey out. So hopefully he'll send out the big survey to like all of Microsoft. So I'm very excited to get the survey results from that once I narrow down the pre-survey results.
Sounds like you're getting really good support. So who is which division are you in, Elena?
I'm in OneDrive and SharePoint core team. Funnily enough, the project that the project I'm working on at Microsoft is also a carbon reduction project, so it just kind of goes hand in hand. We're focusing on analyzing our code base and providing developers with more efficient ways to write their code so that servers don't run as hot in data centers. So that's the part we're focusing on. But yeah, I just thought it was really funny how I'm doing two simultaneous carbon reduction projects. But this is completely exclusive to that because none of the work that I do there kind of teams over. But yeah, my manager is totally on board because she's the one who even came up with the carbon reduction project for our intern project. And since we have our carbon negative stance by 2030, Microsoft stance, it's very the whole company is very involved. Everybody, I've got a lot of people from various teams reaching out to me, asking me how they can help out and things of that nature. So it's been very nice to see the support.
That's excellent. Actually, one of our MBA graduates and former fellows is at Microsoft Energy.
Oh, really?
And we could also put you in touch, but that's great. Yeah. Good. Yeah. That's excellent news. So we look forward to seeing the continuation of your project then.
Yeah, thank you so much. I actually had one more quick thing. Yeah. Sorry. I have like I said, I have a presentation next Tuesday. I was wondering if I could get a 2-day extension for the report because I wanted to talk to him first before I wrote up the big report or the July 6th report.
Yeah, I think that should be fine. Awesome. What do you think?
Yeah, that's definitely fine. I think in general the deadlines and the timelines that we have this summer are recommended. That doesn't mean don't take them seriously, but it just means let us know if you can't make it, which you just did. So if you need an extension, we all know that your internships are on slightly different schedules and have different constraints. So just let us know, and as long as we know, we'll be able to adapt and keep you up to date. But very exciting that you have that presentation next week, and best wishes for it. If you need anything from us, let us know.
Yeah, if you need any support in kind of reviewing and providing input to your presentation, let us know.
Oh, that would be great, actually. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah,
just email. Just email carbonreduction@GovTech. I'll put that in the chat so you can have that for reference.
Awesome, thank you so much.
All right, so I see Minrui next.
Hi, everyone. So this summer I'm interning at Assurant, an insurance company, as a data analytics intern. I'm not sure if it's the culture here or if it's because the industry that I operate in. So I asked my manager for explicit permission to circulate the survey, but I've only gotten the permission to do so within my team. So unlike everyone who just made their presentation, I didn't have access to a greater crowd. So I've only gotten.
How many people are in your team?
So there's around, I think, 16, 17 people. I've gotten 15 responses. So I think basically everyone on the team filled out the form. But I think that's a limit on my part, so I wouldn't be able to get more responses. And also because everyone who did the response of the survey is on my team, I feel like there might be some kind of bias in the answers. So I wasn't
in which
exactly
direction?
What? I'm sorry.
In which direction might there be
So right. So because my team is uh data analytics only, so I feel like there might be like more flexible in terms of like working. Um, I think the working terms. So like I feel like even before the pandemic, people were able to work from home. Um, and I feel like that's probably not true for the other workers. Um, and also like our team, I think had a better transition into COVID-19 than the other teams.
Okay, so I can think of, I mean, I have a couple reactions. One is we foresaw that some of the surveys initially would probably not go beyond the team.
Right.
And so at this point, I suggest that you focus on the data from your team and see if there's anything interesting. And then it's, in a way, on your, a little to your ingenuity and communication skills and the culture of the company, to be fair, whether they see the value in distributing the survey more broadly because they see that something valuable might come from doing so. So that's one thought. The other thought is you're in analytics, right? So
Yes.
what is the scope? So basically, is it doing risk analysis?
So I'm in consumer behavior or customer behavioral analytics. So we look at how the customers respond to our services and basically determine what exactly is going on, why customers might like a specific service compared to others.
And your services are insurance products?
Yes. So
And what kind of insurance products are we talking about?
So there's actually a lot. So like the mobile services involves like if you break your phone, you can send your phone to repair. They also cover home insurance, pre-need insurance. So like there's a lot of services they have.
Well, you know what? I bought a headset recently and I bought an assurance policy and then I realized I didn't need it because the manufacturer had a 2-year policy, so I felt stupid. But no, the reason I ask is that it might be very interesting within your team if you're to think about the range of insurance services that you provide and any of those products or services that will have been changed by COVID.
Okay.
And therefore, is the traditional product that you already have with the existing terms, etc., going to continue to be as profitable or as desirable to customers? So if your manager has given you leave to do this project within the team of 15, 16, then one thing that you could do is to have, short interviews with, a number of people on that team and just ask these questions, what are the products that you're working on for customer analytics? Where do you see possible changes because of COVID? In which direction are those changes? Is the risk increasing on us relative to the baseline that we had calculated? Are these products less valuable because people aren't doing X anymore? Or do we have an opportunity to sell more of this because more of this is happening? So your project could take a very interesting turn if you also complement your survey with that other focus area. And in the worst case, it'll get your team thinking about these things. They may already be thinking about it.
Right.
But if you systematically ask the question and then document the findings for your manager, they may find that valuable. So that's a direction that I would recommend you.
Okay.
You see if you can go in.
So on the brighter side, I did have a chance to talk to the VP of corporate responsibility, and she did say, she did tell me, I think I think she would be able to help me if I needed any like data in regards to I think environmental practices of Assurant.
Right.
She did give me like a lot of breakdowns on like what Assurant's been currently trying to do in curbing carbon emission, and I feel like they are trying to make a positive change.
Okay,
So
good. That's excellent. So that's your other leverage point. Basically, did she give you you said she gave you information and maybe they have a report on what they're doing already? So to
yeah,
the extent that you can coach your project along the lines of what they've identified as priorities, are carbon emissions one of the areas they're working on?
yeah, I think so.
Okay. So, definitely try to make that connection and speak the company language. Use some of the terminology from those reports in the report that you give your manager, and you might CC, and send it to the VP. But also, I think, ask her, sometimes what happens with the VP of Environment, they tend to focus on internal, waste, energy, etc.
Right.
And then the implications for core business functions is an area where they are also trying to get inroads into the rest of the company. So you could ask the VP if what I propose to do with your team might be of interest, and is it a he or a she?
Yeah, it's a she.
What she thinks about that, whether COVID has any implications for products.
Okay.
And so that could be interesting as well.
That sounds like a good route.
Yeah. So try all that, and then we'll touch base again when you have a bit more. All right, great. I see Neha.
So could I just add one more thing before we move on?
Please.
So yeah, I think the more general thing to take away from this past discussion is that I think it's great if you're able to get 80 to 100 or more responses on your survey. That's really cool. And in some cases, you may not be able to do that, and that's also okay if you can pair your surveys with these casual conversations where you get more qualitative insights into what may be happening in your organization. So as we just talked about, so who can you have those casual conversations with about what have been the main differences in the way things were and the way things are now, and who you should have those conversations with could range from talking with your team, just talking with maybe a handful, 3 to 5 people, getting more insights of which directions may be interesting. In your case, Minray, you have the VP of Corporate Responsibility who you can talk to, and you can potentially also ask her who else you could survey or other departments you could survey using her connections in the company if you are worried about bias. But I think at this point you could start with some of the more just more conversations with people so that you're not necessarily limited by a form, but you can have some deeper conversations that get more of these insights.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
All right, next person.
Hi, I'm Neha.
Hi, Neha.
I'm working at Medtronic this summer, which is like kind of a biotech devices company, and it's a very horizontally spread company in that there's like many divisions, all specializing in different things. So I'm working in the ENT division, which is ear, nose, and throat. I've already talked about this like in the past office hour, but my internship started a little later than most people's did. So I basically just wrapped up my training and I just started meeting people on Monday. So I haven't actually sent out my survey yet because I sent it to my manager and I'm still waiting for her to approve it, but I have a meeting with her later today. So hopefully she'll approve it by then. And then similar to, I think Anthony said, I actually found kind of an online forum for the entire company. So I asked permission to post it on there. And again, I'm still waiting on hearing back for that. But I just wanted to get your advice because that forum is not just specific to the company's location that I'm working for, which is like the Jacksonville, Florida location, but it's actually open internationally because there are locations internationally. So I just wanted to know, is that okay if I'm getting responses from people? Okay, working
The survey did have a question on location, did it not?
It has zip code on there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I see zip code. So
I would probably add a question. I would probably add a question into your pre-survey for specific office branch or locations, just so that you can have that filtering ability. You're free to edit the pre-survey. It's meant to build on top of, so feel free to customize it so that you can kind of distinguish between different offices.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So instead of zip code, you can do a drop-down menu with office locations or country or state or whatever. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can definitely add that because I haven't sent it out yet. But also, I yesterday was able to hop on a conference call with a Georgia Tech alumni who works at the company, and she really expressed interest in the project when I mentioned it to her. So I'm hoping to have one of those kind of casual conversations with her about carbon emissions in the company and what she's seen so far. So I'm trying to set that meeting up.
And just like Minrui, there may be a VP of environment, or there may be a VP of sustainability. That might be another resource.
Okay,
yeah, for all of you in bigger companies, there may be a person who has at least partial job responsibility for related issues. So that would be a good resource.
All right.
Neha, how did you find the GT alum who's working at your company?
Yeah, so I actually found her through, she like used to intern and basically used to be in my position like 3 or 4 years back. So she like actually reached out to the interns, and I was lucky enough to find her through that. So yeah.
That's
cool.
Great.
That's great.
Okay, then we have Zoe. And at the end, don't go away because we have a question for you guys. All right, Zoe. Are you still there? Okay, maybe she stepped away for a moment or is having issues. Oh, I see the video went off and then came back on. Zoe? Maybe you need to check your video or audio settings. So while we wait to see whether Zoe comes back on board, we want to look ahead to the end of the CRC and talk a little bit about the deliverables and the process that we are planning to have. And we want to have your input on that. And I wonder, Lalit, if I can turn to you, because you must have digested what we discussed yesterday even a bit more. If you'd like to share our preliminary thoughts and then collect feedback from the team that's assembled here.
Yeah, and this is on the on what the final report on what the final expo will look like.
Yes.
Okay.
And we wanted to ask whether they had an appetite for recording a video and all that.
Okay, so looking ahead to the final expo for the CRC, we are trying to figure out the format what format we want this to look like. It will definitely be virtual. We won't be able to meet in person at Georgia Tech, unfortunately. Actually, fortunately, because it's good to sort of be distant right now. But we had a couple of questions on what specific form that could take. So currently what we're imagining is that after your in-depth survey is done, just as you are doing with your pre-survey, you would gather those results and you would write up a report that you would submit to us and to your organization with recommendations for low carbon work behaviors to continue. We'll send out a template for what the written report could include, but briefly it would include a summary of the recommendations that you have, a discussion of the carbon and cost savings, any co-benefits from those changes, any obstacles or implementation roadblocks that may be introduced that your company would be concerned about, and then next steps for future teams or even future interns to carry on your project. So in addition to the final report, we are also what we're looking to do is take those final reports, we'll read them, and then we'll select a handful of finalists that we'll invite to a live session where we will judge and announce the winners of the summer's CRC. So kind of in summary, all CRC participants this summer would submit a final report. We as a CRC team would select finalists based on that final report. And in the week of August 10th, we would invite finalists to a live session where judges would hear the projects and announce winners based on those presentations. Just a quick side note, we will be evaluating all projects based on judging criteria that we put up on carbonreductionchallenge.org, so feel free to take a look at that and work backwards from that if that would be useful. But the main questions we wanted to pose today is, one, does this format make sense of having a final report, selecting finalists, and then having a live session where we announce winners? And then second, in addition to the final report, would each of you be interested in recording a short video about your project, like a 2 or 3 minute video where you go over most of the content that's in the final report in place of, say, a poster presentation? Those are the two main questions that I think we wanted to get your feedback on so that we can shape the final expo based on what you'd be interested in doing. Beril, are there any other items that you wanted to pose, or are those two main questions that you'd like to cover?
Those are the two main questions. Yeah.
So feel free to unmute and share your video if you'd like, and let us know what you think about that plan.
Or drop thoughts in chat if you can't.
Yeah,
unmute.
whichever is more convenient. I'm happy to kind of we just discussed this, so we're definitely open to your feedback on this.
I like the idea for sure. I think the video is a great way as well, because for me personally, like I know it'd be difficult for me to like go out and print out a poster. So like having a video and perhaps like a PowerPoint or something that I can like go over would be a great way to present my findings, I think. Yeah, that's my thoughts on it.
I
Thanks,
agree
Lena.
with what Alina's saying about the videos. I think that could be a really good way to be presenting our findings. My concern is with, for when you were saying about the people presenting live, just like, I guess, putting together a schedule for that, just because, we all, at least my internship is extended until the end, like the very, very end of the summer. So I'll still be working at the time of those presentations. So yeah, just like scheduling that ahead of time, I guess.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Will there be any difficulty if you're at work? Probably not, right? If they've approved.
So that's that is my final week of my internship. So that's when my final presentation for my like work project will be. So I just have to be able to schedule around that, I guess.
Okay.
Thanks, Dan.
I was thinking about that scheduling as well. But I was thinking like would there be an option where instead of doing a live presentation, you record your presentation in advance and then basically you send in a recording? Would that be an option? Or
Well, that's kind of what we're trying to see how you feel about it. So what are the advantages that you see in sending a pre-recorded version?
the time, I guess. The time is the definitely the advantage there. But I guess you don't get to interact as much because because like people might have questions and that doesn't exactly pan out if it's a recording.
Yeah. So I mean, our preference, to the extent possible, is that everybody who's a finalist is available at that time, but we recognize that there may be challenges that are making that difficult or impossible. Like if there's some kind of event for all interns that you have to be at. That's going to be a problem. And also you may have connectivity issues. So what we can do is we can work with you, for those of you who want to record your presentation, definitely you can do that and you can send it in. We can all kind of listen to that presentation if you are either unable to dial in or if you have connectivity issues. And if you're unable to answer questions in the moment, then we have to, because you couldn't attend, then we have to think how important is that, or can we conclude our judging anyway without having been able to ask a couple of finalists questions.
Can I offer an idea for the questions problem?
Yeah.
Maybe when we all do our 2-minute videos, there could be like a platform where you share the videos with everyone who's in the challenge, also because I just think it would be cool to see what everyone else is doing. But then we could all watch these videos and submit questions. That way, when the finalists are pre-recording their presentations, they already have some questions in mind and they could answer them during the recording.
That's a good idea. So we're thinking of the 2-minute short presentation exactly as you said, that it's an engaging way for you all to hear about each other's projects rather than having to wade through written reports. It might be an engaging way for you to share your findings and recommendations internally within the company. And where we can get approval from the company, then they're also an engaging thing to post in the Carbon Reduction Challenge website and do a media campaign and things like that. So I like this additional idea that we can use those 2-minute videos to surface questions early as well. Thank you. Any other thoughts, questions, recommendations on this? Okay, so what I'm taking from this is there is support for, in addition to the report, recording a 2-minute summary video. Did I understand this right, everyone? If not, unmute and say no. And then we will plan on circulating those 2-minute videos with everybody and invite questions specifically for the finalists. And then for the final week, we will try to have it as much as possible synchronous, live, but for those who have good reasons to not be able to do that, then we will invite them to submit a video ahead of time, and we may send them 2 or 3 questions that we would normally ask them so that they can provide either a video response or written response to those. Lilith, is that a good summary of?
Yep, summarizes it. Cool. So we'll send this out over in one of our next weekly emails so that everyone in the challenge can see this as well and provide any feedback. But this has been very helpful. Thank you for taking the time to share that feedback to us today. Appreciate it.
Okay. Does anyone, so we still have 4 minutes scheduled. Does anyone have some last questions or comments? And by the way, Ari put in the video in the chat. You might have seen that. Thank you. Ari, I'm looking forward.
I sent it to you directly, but I can I can share it with everyone else.
Oh, that was to me directly only? Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. Well, why not?
But I'll share it with everyone. It's really embarrassing.
I clicked on it, so it started, and it's got some really nice, simple graphics. Okay. Yeah, thanks for sharing with everyone. Everyone, if you go to chat, you see that. Okay, so I see no questions, but you can always send an email to the Carbon Reduction Challenge email address. Is that the main way of communication? We're also looking to see if we can, and we can maybe get your idea on this too. We were thinking that it would be nice to be able to, for you to be able to connect with each other in some kind of informal platform. So we thought maybe Slack, but are there other platforms that are even like easier that you all use? Is GroupMe still a thing?
And just to jump in, the purpose of this would be to take what we're able to do here in office hours and make them a bit more frequent throughout the week, so that you don't need to wait between office hours to talk to us or to talk to other people who are participating. And it may be helpful as we get into the in-depth survey where projects will start to take on different directions and flavors. So yeah, I guess thoughts on that idea.
Can you type into chat any recommendations you have for a platform where you can all communicate with each other and us informally, if need be, or no suggestions? GroupMe or WhatsApp? GroupMe or Slack? GroupMe? Okay. GroupMe or Slack?
I guess GroupMe is still a thing. Good to know.
Okay, I think with Slack we were wondering whether we need a subscription to go to a large number. GroupMe is. Are these exclusively Apple products, like only on iPhones though? No.
Hi, Beril. This is
Okay.
CRC.
Is
Yeah,
WhatsApp?
GroupMe would probably be best across both Android and Apple. And yeah, we would have to get a subscription for Slack.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I guess we might look into GroupMe, and Slack seems to be the second most mentioned. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks everyone. This was really exciting for us, just to see the diversity of organization, the diversity of I don't know, project type that I foresee coming out of this, the geographic breadth, and how, at least in some companies, there's, really strong engagement. But even in those companies where there isn't across the board engagement, that's on average to be expected. So I wouldn't worry too much about it, but just keep being proactive and creative about who you reach out to and how, and you should have great projects. Thank you.